Welcome to Powercoat Music. In today's presentation, we're going to talk about the DigiTech MV5 MIDI Vocalist and why and how I use it. Backing vocals were always a critical component to the style of music that I record. We know that well-designed and implemented vocal harmonies can go a long way towards enhancing a production. So the contrast between one person singing and a group of people singing, we know often makes a song sound more enticing and interesting. For instance, I love the sound of Fleetwood Mac and groups like the Doobie Brothers, that rich background vocal sound. I just love it. Now, the DigiTech MV5 was designed for keyboard players who wanted to plug in and have instant vocal harmonies without programming. The MV5 can automatically create up to 5-part vocal harmony from one voice input. Now, I use the MV5 primarily for processing backing vocals. The MV5 is an intelligent pitch changer. Now, what this means is that the unit understands the rules of harmony and can add harmonies to a lead vocal appropriate to the key of the song. Now, as an intelligent pitch changer that works well and sounds good, this is not the type of unit for strange delayed feedback type of pitch shifting effects and such. Now, from my perspective, I always say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. If it's working really well, leave it alone. That's because I absolutely love this old thing and the way it sounds on my voice. Now, we all know there are plenty of newer and more advanced vocal processors available, but I have been extremely happy with how this unit sounds and makes my voice come through on a recording. Now, before I go any further, for a good sound demo of how this thing works and performs in action on an actual song and recording, listen to my song called Linger on this channel. I use the MV5 on both the choruses and the verses so you can hear what the unit actually sounds like in action and what it can do. Now, I'll leave a link to that song in the description section of this video, so please, for a sound demo, go and listen to that after this presentation. Go check it out. Now, the bottom line here is that this unit does its job simply and cleanly. It's so easy to use that you don't even need a manual to get started and then to even excel with the unit. The MV5 is also designed to produce vocal harmonies that sound natural and true to the original voice signal as possible. That's the whole point of why I use it. Now, from my perspective, it still holds up today, though it's decades old and discontinued by DigiTech. The DigiTech MV5 MIDI Vocalist features include the ability to generate up to 5-part harmony, including input vocal, a simple user interface, extensive MIDI control implementation. You can totally automate this unit via MIDI. Automatic and user-generated harmony modes, stereo output with automatic harmony voice panning, front panel XLR mic input and rear 1/4 inch line input, a greater than 86 decibel signal to noise ratio, easy voicing selection from front panel, front panel keystrokes transmitted and received over MIDI. Again, MIDI automation is available here. The DigiTech MV5 MIDI Vocalist technical specifications are as follows. Here we have the microphone input, which is XLR balanced, the line input, which is a 1/4 inch jack. We have our full scale input level, our line outputs, our maximum output level, and our sampling rate. We also have our frequency response specifications here, along with our signal to noise ratio, our total harmonic distortion or THD, the unit size dimensions, and of course, finally the input voltage. Let's move on to my MV5 setup. In my studio, along with most of the other hardware multi-effects processors, the MV5 is connected to an audio patch bay, which in turn is connected to both of my Tascam DP24 digital Porty Studios and my main mixing board. This configuration allows me the freedom to connect and use the MV5 with any unit I need to in my studio on the fly. When the MV5 is routed to my Tascam DP24 via the audio patch bay in my studio, the setup is the same as any standard external multi-effects processor. The effects signal is sent via the effects send to output on the back of the DP24. Process return signals from the MV5 are then routed to any of the inputs, that is A through H, on the back of the Tascam DP24. For more information and details on how to use external effects with the Tascam DP24, watch my video, Tascam DP24 Digital Porty Studio using external effects, on this channel. Let's take a look at the front panel controls of the MV5. The first thing we have is the power switch. It turns the MV5 on and off. Next, we move on to the harmony voicing buttons. The 6 voicing buttons select the arrangement of the harmonies. Up to 4 harmony voices plus the original vocal can be selected at any one time. If 4 buttons are selected, pressing a 5th button causes the harmony furthest away from the new selection to be replaced by the new voice. The next section of buttons are the harmony mode buttons. There are 4 harmony mode buttons in the MIDI Vocalist, that is the MV5. Each mode has its own sound and response to your voice along with its own method of control. These include, first, the chordal button. This places the unit into chordal harmony mode, where up to 4 harmony notes are generated in a specific chord. The unit recognizes each individual chord that you sing or play on your keyboard or sequencer and produces musically correct harmonies for the chord. Next is the vocoder button. This places the unit into vocoder mode, where your voice is pitch shifted to whatever notes you sing or hold down on your MIDI keyboard or sequencer. The unit will not produce harmonies in this mode until it receives MIDI input. Next is the detune button. This places the unit into detune mode, which sounds like many voices are singing the same note as you. In the detune mode, the voicing buttons are used to select between 2 slightly detuned voices, 2 heavily detuned voices, or a combination of both. Let's move on to the scalic button. This places the unit in scalic harmony mode, where up to 4 diatonically correct harmonies are generated in a specific key and scale. The key and scale are selected by MIDI input from your keyboard or sequencer in the set key mode. With this, let's talk about the set key button. This allows you to set the current key and scale for scalic harmony mode. Pressing the set key button turns on MIDI chord recognition, and pressing it again turns chord recognition off. In addition to the 12 keys available, there are 9 scale types to choose from. Next is the bypass button. This button mutes all harmony output and allows your lead vocal signal to pass through with no effects. That is totally dry. Let's move on to the setup mode. This allows you to set MIDI channel and keyboard zone parameters. You enter this by pressing and holding both the bypass and the set key buttons simultaneously. Both their lights will flash, and pressing and holding bypass and set key again will exit setup mode. The MIDI LED blinks to confirm MIDI information is being received by the MV5. It will blink in response to MIDI activity on any channel or sysx, except for system real-time messages such as MIDI clock. The signal LED monitors the incoming signal from the mic and line inputs. When there is no signal present and the unit has recognized the pitch, it will glow green. When the input signal is too high and near clipping, the LED turns red. Let's take a look at the level controls. The harmony control changes the output level for all 4 harmony voices. The lead vocal control changes the output level of the original input signal. The input control changes the input level for the microphone and line inputs only. Let's take a look at the front panel microphone input. This is a balanced XLR type microphone input jack and offers convenient front panel access to the mic input. Plugging in a connector into the rear panel line input overrides the front panel mic input. Now we'll move on to the back of the unit. First we have the line input. The 1/4-inch line input jack accepts audio from external line level sources. The unit accepts audio through either the mic or line inputs. Plugging in a connector into the rear panel line input overrides the front panel mic input. Let's move on to the left and right outputs. Both the harmony and lead vocal signals appear on these 1/4-inch jack outputs. For a monophonic signal, use the left output only. Let's move on to the MIDI section. The MIDI in receives MIDI control information from external MIDI devices. The MIDI out transmits front panel control information that can be recorded and played back externally from a sequencer. The MIDI through jack transmits an exact copy of any MIDI information received at the MIDI input. Next we have the foot switch input. A stereo 1/4-inch jack for connection to an optional DigiTech FX300 foot switch is available to provide limited remote control functionality. The final area is the AC power input. Let's talk about using the MV5. After you've connected a microphone or a keyboard or a digital recorder such as the Tascam DP24 Digital Porta Studio, for example, to the MV5, choose a harmony mode and start singing or playing, or that is playback from your source device. Now, the signal that's coming from your source device into the MV5 needs to be in tune so that the MV5 can recognize the melody. Out of tune singing will result in the harmonies jumping between notes. Press the chordal button on the front panel and then press any of the 4 voicing buttons on the MV5. Sing into the mic or send the signal from your source device and you will hear the lead vocal over the chordal harmony on a C major chord, for example. You can also change the key and the chord by MIDI input. Press the other mode buttons such as the detune, scalic, bypass, and vocoder and sing, or again send the source signal into the MV5 so you can get a feel for the MV5's harmonies. It's actually that simple. And let's quickly talk about MIDI automation and functionality with the MV5. The MV5 has full MIDI implementation and it can be fully automated. When you press a button on the unit's front panel, it sends a MIDI message. Now this functionality allows you to record harmony mode, voicing, key scale, chord and root types, and setup changes to a sequencer or digital audio workstation or DAW. You can play the sequence then back through MIDI to the MV5, and the MV5 will receive these button press messages from the MIDI sequencer and respond the same way as if you had pressed them on the front panel buttons. So you have full automation with the device. The MV5 will also respond to MIDI modulation and MIDI volume messages to control vibrato and overall volume and much more. I don't use the MIDI functionality with this unit, so additional details in this area are out of scope for this specific presentation. Well, that is a wrap. If you like this video, please give it the thumbs up and click the subscribe button on your screen now and join our group. We have new videos coming out every 7 to 10 days, and we would love to have you be a part of our team. Also, leave a comment in the comment section below and let us know what you think about this video. And check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and Spotify. While you're here, listen to some of the other music on the channel. Watch some of the other videos. Let us know what you think about those too. And thank you so much for stopping by. We really appreciate it. And we look forward to seeing you soon.